Sir, we'll begin, sir.
We'll begin.
Yes, sir.
All right. A very good afternoon, students. It's such a pleasure meeting all of you, right? After a long gap, right? I met you all last year when things were fine, and all of a sudden we are now in the pandemic, and the situation has forced us to have this class online. So I would like to thank Clifford for reaching out to me and asking me to do this session. Thank you, Clifford. Thank you so much. All right. So today I'm going to basically have this session on acting, right? Acting for animation and filmmaking students. So you must be wondering how I can teach acting on a platform like this, right? And an online platform. It's really very, very difficult to handle acting on an online platform, but we will try to see, how best I can give you some orientation towards acting, right? So are you able to hear me, guys? I want some responses now and then, right?
Yeah, sir, we can hear.
You can hear,
Sir,
right?
perfectly fine. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. So, yeah. So acting is basically, it's an activity, right? It's an activity wherein a story is being told by a means of enactment. So enactment by an actor or an actress, uh, they will adopt a character, right? It could be in theater, it could be in films, or it could be in radio or any other medium, right? That makes use of the mimetic mode. Mimetic is imitation. So for acting, it involves
Sir, the PPT is not visible.
PPT.
I think, yeah.
What is visible now?
It's a square box.
No, but
Only your mouse is visible, sir.
all right. No, but
Don't put slideshow, sir. I think, yeah, now we can see it. If you put slideshow, it will go, I guess.
Okay. Now can you see?
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see, right?
Now it went.
My God.
If you
What
turn on the slideshow, it will go, I guess. Now we can see it, sir.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'll just see how I can share it.
Lark is better, sir, compared to this.
Yeah, but this is hosted by
I
Nurture.
think you should give it like full access, full screen access. I think he has just given it the PPT access, screen sharing option.
Sir, we can see it now, actually.
Yes, you can
Without
see.
giving, yeah, we can see
All
it.
right. So basically, acting, it involves a broad range of skills, right? So it involves a well-developed imagination. Creativity is very much required for acting. Some people might think that you don't have to go undergo professional training for acting, but that's all wrong. You really need to have a good imagination, good professional training, for acting. And there is some kind of emotional facility that is required. Physical expressivity is required. Vocal projection, right? Which I'll be talking about voice acting. Vocal projection is required. Clarity of speech is required. If you think acting is just coming and showing some expressions and body gestures, no. You should be in a position to speak. Only when you speak, you'll be able to act very well, right? So here acting means no one should know that you're acting. It should be very realistic. That is modern way of acting. Earlier, there was a lot of melodrama, right? These days, you don't see melodrama. Acting is in a very subtle manner. So basically, acting is also involves clarity of speech, and it is also the ability to understand and interpret drama, right? So acting, there are so many abilities required to act. One is dialect, right? A dialect is something which is very, very interesting. In if you take Mangalore itself, if a character is from Mangalore, the dialect will be different. If an actor is from Kundapur, the dialect is going to be different. So similarly, various dialects and accents, improvisation, observation, then emulation, right? Mime, right? And your stage presence. All of these things are required. All these abilities are required to act. So many actors, if you look at it, all professional Hollywood actors and actresses, if you look at them, they all get trained at length, right, in certain specialist programs or colleges in order to develop their acting skills. Hmm? So the vast majority of the professional actors, if you look at it, I'm not talking about the Indian scenario. I'm talking about the Western scenario, the Hollywood, and in some even very few actors and actresses in Bollywood, they all have undergone extensive training, right? They will often have kind of many instructors and teachers for a full range of training, which involves singing, scene work, audition techniques, and also acting for the camera, right? So let us just get into some of the a little bit about the history or the background of acting, how it came to be. So it all started, right? One of the first known actors is believed to have been an ancient Greek, right? He was an ancient Greek called Thespis of Icaria, right? See, if you look at how it all emerged, you can go back to the Aristotle days, right? Aristotle, in his very famous work called as Poetics in 335 BCE, he suggests that Thespis, that character, he stepped out of the chorus and he addressed it as a separate character, right? uh, before Thespis, uh, the chorus narrated, uh, you know uh, he did this, he said that, they used to come, the chorus used to say that, this person did this, that person said that, right? But when Thespis stepped out from the chorus, he spoke as if he was a character, right? I am so and so, I did this, right? To distinguish these kinds of, these modes of storytelling, right? Storytelling can be done in both ways. One is enactment, and the other one is narration. So mostly it was narration during that time. So Aristotle, he's the first person who uses the term mimesis. Mimesis is nothing but imitation or via enactment. You are enacting something. And diegesis, he says, he coins two terms, mimesis and diegesis. Diegesis means narration, right? Mimesis means storytelling. So the word thespis has itself, it has come from the word thespian. You must have said Kannada thespian, Sandalwood thespian, Rajkumar, right? That's the name. It came from the word thespian. So just like any other profession in the world, you need to understand that. Now, this is the history, a little bit about the history or the background about acting. How it all came. I think, guys, you'll have to mute your microphones, right, when I'm talking.
Sir,
so this is,
the PPT is not visible again, sir, actually.
Oh my God.
Can you restart PowerPoint?
So can I just do that 1 minute?
Yeah.
I will stop sharing and again I will share. Tell me if this works, guys. Does it work?
No, sir.
So I'll do one thing. I will forward the PPT to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. No problem.
I'll do. Can I do that a little later? Shall I continue?
Yeah. You can continue, sir.
All right. So this is a little bit about like acting and how this you need to know a little bit of history. Now I'm not getting much into the history because it's more you guys are filmmaking and animation students. You do not require history, but I thought a little bit of orientation is required. So now I'm going straight ahead. Just like any other profession in this world, you need to understand that acting is not, you may, if you aspire to become an actor, you cannot just go become an actor just like that. You need to undergo training and you need to learn the various techniques if you want to reach the star levels. right? If you look at all the big stars, they are the ones who've undergone professional training. So let us start with the different acting techniques, right? All these names might scare you guys. Let me tell you, all these names are like, there's one name called Stanislavski acting technique, Chekhov acting technique, Strasberg technique, method technique. So these are different kinds of acting technique. Don't get scared with the names, okay? Don't get scared with the names. And these are all simple concepts. These are all, I made it very simple so that you will understand. So before anything else, you need to understand, before I even start with the acting techniques, I need to know, right? I need to tell you, right, how your brain affects your acting, how brain affects your acting. So when thinking about how your brain affects your acting ability, first and most important thing to keep in mind is it is impossible to play an emotion. Emotions are very difficult. Acting is like emotions, right? Emotions are very difficult. So you might think this sounds very strange after all, but we've seen great actors, laugh,
My book in a session.
laugh, cry, be joyous, or they can even get angry on screen, right? If you ask them to laugh, they'll start. If you ask them to cry, they will just start crying. Uh, Guys, please mute your microphones, right? So they actors can actually laugh, cry, or be joyous, or get angry on screen. But you need to understand that the truth is you cannot put on an act, right? When it comes to expressing emotions, at least you cannot put an act. So you want to put on a brilliant performance, right? So you actually have to go through that emotion. You have to feel it. You have to express it in order to make it very believable and make it very realistic, right? So if you're wondering how you could invoke the feeling of fear or falling in love on a film with co-stars and with cameras around you, that is where your brain, right? And you need that is where your brain is, and you need to use it. You need to use it, and it becomes an important instrument as an actor, right? So I would like to tell you some of the aspects of the brain basics, right? You must have heard about the difference between the left side and the right side of the brain, right? The left half of the brain is actually for what, guys? Anyone?
Controls the right side of the body.
The yeah, that is fine. The left side of the brain, what does it do? It is considered to be the logical and analytical side. Okay, it is considered to be the logical and analytical side. Whenever you complete a task, right, which has to do with say reading or maths or science, that left side of the brain is what you are engaging in. The right side is what we have to be bothered about in this session. The right side is the part which actually controls creativity, right? Right side controls creativity, and it comes into action. And it comes into action whenever you undertake an emotional or artistic work, right? When you have to act, when you have to use your creative side, the right side becomes active. So if you look at it, most of the actors, which side of the brain they engage in. It as acting actually involves reading from a script or memorizing lines, taking certain angles like this and like that, taking positions, right? So many people make the mistake of thinking that acting is supposed to be a left side or left brain activity, but brain actually, the truth is, the brain cannot respond to verbal or written commands in this way, right? If you try to simply tell your mind to act angry or heartbroken, um, or happy, or for any other emotion, right? That is acting with the left side of the brain, you will be you'll be actually setting yourself up for a poor performance, right? You're not going to, you will not be able to act well if you're using your left side of the brain. Instead of telling yourself to trigger an emotion, you must learn how to utilize your senses to invoke, some kind of a um, truly emotional reaction, right? Reaction on the right side of your brain. So now you should know that your right side of the brain is a very important aspect. So all of the best actors, they uh, they used to engage with the right side of the brain, that is the emotional side of the brain, because it helps them to incite, senses to feel what their character is actually feeling. So your right side of the brain is very, very important, right? So with this, I'm going to move on to the different types of techniques. So now you know what are, how your brain operates when it comes to acting. It's the right side of the brain, the emotional side comes from there. So first, let's get into the Stanislavski acting technique. Stanislavski acting technique. This is a very, very, very unique acting technique. It was this theory or this philosophy or this acting technique was actually created and it was developed by Konstantin Stanislavski, right? So this Stanislavski acting technique basically, it involves concentration, physical skills, voice. See, for example, it involves emotional memory. Emotion and memory. You think of a particular emotion that you've gone through in your life. Maybe someone's loss or some heart broken, incident or something, and then you think of that. You think of that for a long time, and you start using that memory, and then start acting. So this could be through emotion memory. So it could be through concentration, or it could be through physical skills, right? You look, you observe people, or through voice, or emotions that you use, based on memory, or observation, right? Or some kind of a dramatic analysis, right? You kind of learn this, and then you will be able to try a character. Then you'll be able to apply him or her to your own life. Then you will use your personal feelings and experiences for proper portrayal. So this is Stanislavski's acting technique. Got it, guys? So here you use your concentration, your physical skills, your voice, your emotion memory, your observation, and also the dramatic analysis, that you sit and think of the situation of the character, and then you bring all these aspects for some time, and then you try a character by applying that character to your own life and using your own personal, experiences or feelings, right? And then you portray that character. This is Stanislavski acting technique. Stanislavski acting technique. Okay, then we'll go to next acting technique, which is the Chekhov's acting technique. So Chekhov's acting technique is Michael Chekhov. He was actually the Stanislavski student. So Stanislavski is a director, an actor, right? All that. So he was Michael Chekhov acting technique is Chekhov was actually Stanislavski's student. So, but he started looking at the portrayal of a character from a very different perspective, right? He says that, Chekhov's technique says that the actor will have to focus on the character's internal problem, right? You will probably have to internalize it, and you'll have to look at the character's internal problem and then express this issue or struggle through movements, right? So you are internalizing character's internal problem and then expressing this issue or his struggle through various movements, and then acting. This is Chekhov's acting. Clint Eastwood, Marilyn Monroe, they are known for using Chekhov's acting technique, right? They use this Chekhov's technique to live the characters' lives. They would keep on repeating the movements and gestures of their characters again and again, right? To allow their physical memory, right? Physical memory to build their performance at an unconscious level. So what happens once when you keep repeating the same body gestures over and over and over and again, what happens is it will get stuck in your memory, and then once your body remembers that body gestures, improvisations will come naturally to the character. This is Chekhov's acting technique. Okay, this is Chekhov's acting technique. Then you have in Chekhov's acting technique, you have certain guiding principles. So, what are those guiding principles? So, Chekhov's acting technique, they say the psychophysical, it is largely psychophysical based. Psychophysical based means it is the body and the mind connection. Right? You act with the body and the mind connection. And after that, you create an atmosphere very consciously. You will say that I'm in a forest. Inside, you keep thinking I'm in a forest. There's a tiger that's going to chase me. The tiger is right there. Tiger is following me, and then I'm going to run now, and I'm going to act like this, and I start running. I create create an atmosphere very unconsciously. Then you need to understand that next thing is you're connecting everything with the right. This is one aspect that you need to understand. Whether you're following Stanislavski technique or Strasberg's technique or method acting or Chekhov acting technique, you need to understand one thing. These are some of the things which cannot be learned theoretically. I was telling Clifford the other day, it cannot be learned theoretically. You need to have some practical, classes for this. It will take in 1 hour. You cannot learn acting technique, but I'm just giving you the gist of, simplified version of all these techniques. Please try to understand. I'm just giving you a simplified, capsulated form of all these techniques. Right? There should be a lot of practice and all these things for such, workshops. So it's psychosocial. You're creating an atmosphere consciously. You're connecting with the right brain, and there is some kind of an artistic freedom in Chekhov's acting technique, right? Because you create everything artificially, right? So these are some of the guiding principles of Michael Chekhov's acting technique. Then the next technique is the Meissner's technique. Meissner's technique is actually, here the focus is not on me or myself, but the focus is on the acting partner, right? Whoever acts with you, about the acting partner, the focus is there. And by focusing more and more about the partner, an actor can get into the state that reality is only something that exists in this particular moment. They will get into that kind of reality. I am here at this particular moment. I am there, and my focus is on you, right? I'm going to react to how you respond to it, right? You are this character. You are this. I'll set it into my mind, and the partner is there right there, my acting partner. And based on the acting partner's character, you forget everything else. You cut yourself completely off, and your focus is only on that person. This is Meissner's technique. And this Meissner's technique is also very, very, very famous technique. This technique is used mainly for intimate scenes. Intimate scenes which require a lot of authenticity, right? So this method, especially, it helps to one to get closer to the partner and make the scenes more natural, right? Some of the actors who employ Meissner's technique are Naomi Watts, Alec Baldwin, right? These are some of the American actors who use the Meissner's technique. Okay, then the next technique is a very, very interesting technique, which is something which is based on Stanislavski's technique and Meissner's technique, something in between, right? So this is called as the practical aesthetics acting technique. Practical aesthetics acting technique. So this practical aesthetics acting technique was founded by David Mamet, and William Macy, right? William Macy. Yeah, William Macy and David Mamet. These are the founders of this kind of an acting technique, and it is actually based on Stanislavski and Meissner's technique, right? And this technique is actually based on 4 steps. So, what are the 4 steps? The first step is literal description of the situation, right? Are you guys following me? Can you just give me some responses? Or am I just speaking to a blank screen?
Students, you can use the chat window.
Are you following me, guys, or am I just speaking to a blank screen? Yeah, I can see some good responses. Interesting. So, practical aesthetics acting technique. It starts with a literal description of a situation. So you get to understand what is happening around. No, it starts with that. Then explanation of what one actor wants the other one to do. You get some kind of an explanation of what you as an actor want the other person to do, right? And then the third aspect is you try to understand what the character is supposed to do and what the actor will be doing, right? So last one is implementation of myself, and an actor's personal experience in the situation, right? So these are the four aspects. So Meissner's technique largely involves understanding the situation, internalizing it, explanation, right? You're trying to explain of what one actor wants the other one to do, and then understanding of what the other character is supposed to do in my scene, and then how the actor will be doing it, and then using your own personal experience and implement. So this method, it will help an actor go away from that imaginary scene and make the whole scene very, very truthful, because you know the situation. You know what the other person wants you to do. You know what you are supposed to do. You're bringing in your personal experiences in that situation, then acting, right? So this kind of makes the whole scene very, very truthful. But this scene, you need to understand that it will be based not only on the character's life and the experience, but about the actor himself or herself also, right? About the actor himself or herself. So if you look at it, there are American actors, Clark Gregg, and then Felicity Huffman. So if you look at Felicity Huffman and Clark Gregg's acting, you'll find they use this technique of practical aesthetics, acting technique. So this is a very, very interesting technique, right? So, so now you understand that all these techniques are very, very essential for any kind of role. So acting is just not just going and crying or outpouring of emotions or anything. Internalizing, understanding the character, meditating about the character, right? All these things have to come in unison in order to give a brilliant performance, right? So you need to understand that what technique you can use, whatever technique you can use, it's up to you. But what works for one person may not work for you. Let me tell you, acting is something which is very, very difficult, right? In front of the camera, laughing, crying, and doing all the drama. You may think that it's so simple, right? You don't have to work very hard, but it is a lot of hard work because you really understand. Then there's something called as method acting. How many of you have heard of method acting? Where the actors actually visit, I know of, I've read of, actors and actresses who sold their entire property out and then just live their life as a nomad for some time, just to get that experience, just to feel how, just to get the emotions right, so they just, that is method acting. You stay there with them, you eat like them, you drink like them. One of them wanted to act like a tribal aboriginal, so he had to literally go to that place and stay there for like 2 to 3 months. They'll have to look at the way they walk, they talk, the way they look. Each culture has a unique way of, for example, like, I have my own experiences, right? When we go, when Indians go to European nations, when they ask you something, you say, so that will confuse the Europeans, like, they will not even understand whether you're saying yes or no, right? So every culture has its own way of nodding. And, for us in India, if we say this, it means yes. If we say this, it means no, right? So every other culture has its own way of certain body gestures or certain, that's all inbuilt with the culture. So you need to understand that. You need to understand how people eat, how people look, how people talk, right? How people stand, and if you look at, if you go to, the some of the rural places in Kerala, you'll find people taking their lungi, tying it, and then they have an attitude, guys. They stand like this only. Can you see me, guys? They'll stand like this only in front of shops, like as if they are controlling everything. I mean, every country, every place, it has its own, gestures, certain body languages, which you need to internalize. Which you need to internalize and observe. And keen observation is something which is very, very essential to become a very good actor. So if you want to be an actor for animation or for you,
Sir, your audio.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Whether you're going to create animated characters to act, or whether you're going to make real life characters act, you need to understand one thing. You have to be a keen observer of, even the minute details that happens in your either it could be a lady selling fish or her tonality, right? Everything, all these things are very, very important to become good actors. So you need to understand that you can use any of these techniques for the, for your role, and you can use it to, create great acting for your films or whatever, right? So next, I'm going to give you some of the other aspects about acting, right? What real life tips can probably, a person get for their first day of shooting. So imagine you are shooting for the first day, and then you really, you're tense, right? You need to have some kind of a confidence before you stand in front of the camera and emote, right? First thing is learn your character. Before you apply any of the techniques that I mentioned, you need to understand who your character is. What does that character like? What does that character hate? Whom do they like? Whom do they love? Whom do they like? Whom do they dislike? What does the character wear? How they talk? How they move? You know, you need to understand that the character that you are going to play, or the character that you're going to create in your animation, think of your character as a very interesting person. You need to kind of develop a lot of attributes, right? So when I talk about attributes, even for branding, even for certain brands, people create it. For example, a brand like Radio Mirchi, right? Radio Mirchi as a brand has certain attributes. What are its attributes? Mischievous, naughty, a person who sits in the last bench but likes to have fun, opinionated, right? Sensitive, caring. So these are some of the attributes that has been attached to the brand. So when they attach those attributes to the brand, all the performers, all the RJs, all the sound editors, all the people concerned with programming, what they will do is they will internalize the attributes of the brand and act accordingly and start performing accordingly. Here also, you need to have a thorough understanding of the character, who the character, what they like, what they hate, or whether they dislike something, what they like to wear, how they would like to talk, how they will move. So you are looking at that character as a very, very interesting person, and then you are studying that character, right? So once you know who you need to transform into, then the process will be very easier for you to act, right? You have to be ready that not everything will be clear. Not everything will be clear from the very beginning, but you might not know certain things, like for example the character's hobby or the character's political position. In such cases, you have the right as an actor, as a person who's a creator, to complete your own ideas and experiences. However, you have to make sure that the groundwork is very, very essential. And the director and the actor and the people concerned, right, all of them will have to implement them into their own, they have to implement it, they have to do this groundwork. This is turning into your understanding your character, learning your character. Next is getting into the skin of the character. So what is getting into the skin of the character mean? So once you learn everything about your character, then it's time to start a transition period. So you will have to speak in a way that your character would, learn their accent. You should talk to the people with same accent. Listen to the audio tracks. Listen to certain audio tracks to master, how they speak. Right? The same rule will apply to gestures also. You have to watch as many videos as possible of the concerned characters. Talk to them, to similar personas. Talking to similar personas will give you a lot of information in the right direction. And if you can afford it as an actor or as a director, if you can afford it, you have to move to a place similar to the living conditions of your character. Are you getting my message, guys?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah. So you will also, if you can afford it, see that you try to go to a similar place which is very similar to the living conditions. Right? There, that will give you that rich experience. Robert De Niro. How many of you all know him? A lot of you must definitely know him. Robert De Niro.
We know, sir. A lot of.
Yeah. So he moved to Sicilia when he was actually preparing for Godfather Part 2, right? He studied the behavior of mentally ill people. He worked as a taxi driver for a month while preparing for the taxi driver movie, right? Then there is this actor called Adrian Brody, Adrian Brody. So he sold all his home and car basically to experience, experience starving, poverty, and to feel the despair of not getting any food. People undergo such tortures, and these are actors who receive the highest award for their possible efforts. They've won Oscars, the Oscars. So you understand that acting is not a joke. It's not just sitting in a camera and smiling and just like taking a picture, right? We all are very masters at taking selfies, taking pictures, taking videos. We think that the moment you own a nice camera, you think you're a photographer. The moment you use you own a nice camera, you think you are a professional photographer. No, you need to learn the technique. The moment you notice smile, the moment someone says, "You look good, you look good on camera." So the moment someone says, "Hey, you look really good," you think I can become an actor. No, good looks it'll give you an entry point. It'll only give you that entry, or it can be a springboard. After that, how you perform is what matters. How you act is what matters. How have you mastered the techniques? All these techniques is what matters. Right? Then you will become a good actor. Right? So that is getting into the skin of the character. Then staying in the character. How can you stay in the character? Right? At the set, what you have to do is you have to start recollecting some similar situation from your memory. You should remember your feelings. You should remember your emotions at that moment and live it through it again. Right? Had I been taking a class for you in Srinivas right now, probably I would have asked you to do this in person. We would have had groups of people and we would have done this, practicals. But it's not possible. Just imagine, right? I will ask you to become sad, and I will ask you to recollect some similar situation that has happened in your life, and I will ask you to live it again, right? So you should understand that even micro expressions counts. Even micro expressions are really important for you to, like when I say micro expressions, it could also mean, thinking of a particular smell, thinking of a particular taste. Haven't you experienced this, guys? Right? By using a particular frame, by smelling something, you get transported to your childhood days. It's Diwali time. A lot of people will be making sweets at home, or that practice is not there now. So nowadays everybody goes to the shop and they buy it. But earlier, remember the times when the first chaklis being made, muruk or laddu, when it's being made, the smell, it transports you back to that this thing. So when I say micro expressions, so when I say you have to recollect some of the feelings and emotions, I mean that you can go back to certain smells, certain tastes, certain views, certain sights, right? Uh, that feeling, that feeling, so that you can get into that feeling. So instead of recollecting your old memories, I would also suggest try to apply your character's problem or situation to your issue, to your current life, right? When you become an actor. So replace or substitute your partner with someone from your real life to make emotions very natural, right? So think of the gestures that would fit perfectly into the current scene and situation, and use it in a very important moment, right? So by doing this, what will happen is you can make your whole body work, right, following this little gesture, and making your acting more truthful and realistic. So our aim is, when you say acting is not like melodramatic, you must have seen the old films, right? Old films, that was their aesthetics and their kind of audience were different at that point of time. They needed melodrama, but now that's not the case. Right? Now things have changed. Right? You want subtle acting. People should not know that you're acting, but you're acting. You're making it a very, very, you're giving it a very realistic touch. That's how you should think of. So the bottom line here is, learn the theory, learn the acting techniques, different acting techniques that we discussed, apply them in your profession without any doubts, right? If you do all this, you will learn the craft of acting, you will become aware of the existing techniques, right? And then you can act, and you can transform your career, right? Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next we will get into the what are the different types of elements of drama. So you need to understand that there are certain elements. First is thought, theme, or ideas. So what the play means, as opposed to what happens. What happens is the plot, right? Sometimes the theme is very clearly stated in the title, right? It can be stated through dialogues, right? By the character acting, or through or as a person's voice, right? It is very theme is very obvious, and it emerges after you study for it some time. So that is theme. The second thing is action or plot. Action or plot is very important because you need to internalize that action or plot in order to act efficiently. So action or plot could be the events of a play, right? The story as opposed to the theme. So what happens rather than what it means. So that is the action or the plot. The plot should have some kind of a unity. It should have some clarity, and there should be some pattern, right? There should be some action and movement, right? There is some kind of an entanglement. Then there's a rising action, then climax, then falling action to resolution. Then third one is characters, right? It will be there in the characters. Characters are presented. Each character should have their own distinct personality. Their age you should know, their appearance you should know, their beliefs you should know, their socio-economic background you know, their language you should know. So all these aspects in understanding a character is very, very essential. Then comes the language. As I said, language and dialogue delivered by the characters, they are the ones that they are the aspects that moves the plot or action, right? Just a minute, guys. I'll just PPT is also okay. So language. So language is it is nothing but the word choice. Word choices made by the writer And also it can also mean enunciation of the actors. Language and dialogues, these are the things that will move the plot and action. And each writer create their own specific style, right, in terms of establishing characters and dialogue. And last but not the least is the important aspect is music. So music, it encompasses, right, the dialogue and the speeches, right? Music is not part of every, a drama or a film or anything, but music can be included to mean all sounds in production. Sometimes music can expand to sound effects. Music can expand to actors' voices. When I'm speaking, if there is a background music, it creates a different kind of an effect. So with music also, it enhances acting, right? So characters' wants and desires can be strengthened through the music, right? Then spectacle. Spectacle is all aspects of scenery, your costumes, your special effects, the visual effects, right? So these qualities, that they create, they create the world and the atmosphere of the atmosphere for the audience eyes, the spectacle. And last one is genre and form, right? So here, drama can be divided into different types. Like you have tragedy, you have comedy, you have melodrama, right? You have tragic comedy. So all these are genres, right? So comedy is the most difficult, right? Right? Playing a comedy character is very, very difficult. So it should be very physical and should be energetic. And there are various types of comedies, which can vary greatly, right? There are situational comedies, there are romantic comedies, there are sentimental comedies, dark comedies, comedy of manners, and there's called something called farce comedies. So basically, you need to understand comedy when you are using any of the comic devices as an actor. You're going to use exaggeration, surprise, repetition, or you're going to have, sarcasm or wisecracks, right? These are some of the things that you'll be using for comedy. Then melodrama. Melodrama is it's called as the drama of disaster, right? It could be like guilt or or a victim of circumstance. The protagonist is usually in melodrama, he's a victim of circumstance, right? Uh, it has a sense of a strict sense of moral judgment, right? Um, like melodrama in melodramatic kind of an acting, you find that all good characters are rewarded and the bad characters are punished, right? In a means that fits the crime, but that's melodrama. And tragic comedy is most lifelike. It is most lifelike of all genres, right? It is very non-judgmental, and there is a mix of comedy and tragedy side by side in tragic comedy. Then, so these are some of the methods, these are some of the aspects that I would like to, say when it comes to, kind of drama or dramatic effects. Next aspect that I'm going to talk about is these are types of drama that you just saw: tragedy, comedy, melodrama, and tragic comedy. And next aspect I'm going to speak about is mime acting. So mime acting, you have three types: abstract mime, literal mime, and combined, style. So what is mime acting? Right. Have you ever, been wandering around the streets of your city of Mangalore, and you happened upon a street performer who's wearing interesting clothes, lots of white makeup, but not making a sound? Have you noticed it in Mangalore? If so, then you have seen a mime acting. So mime acting, it's a form of acting which is very silent. It involves acting and communicating only through certain movements, gestures, facial expressions, right? Um, so before there was spoken language, before there was spoken language, gestures, and facial expressions were used to communicate. Mime was there, right? It was a mime. It's actually a very ancient art. It can be dated back to the Greeks and Roman times, right? Many people they associate mime with French culture because it was in France where mime flourished, right? And there are so many mime schools which you, if you go to France, you will see there are a lot of mime schools, right? They have a very great tradition of mime and culture, right? It was mime was there as early as 1811. So, what are the different types of mimes? So, mimes can be of two main types. One is the abstract, and the other one is literal. So, what is abstract mime? So, abstract mime it does not feature a main character, or it does not has a plot. So, what it has is it focuses on provoking thought about a particular subject, right? Through expressing certain feelings or expressing certain emotions, right? All that. That is, abstract mind. So what is the next type of mind? That is literal mind. Literal mind basically tells a story with the plot and the characters, and these stories are kind of very funny situations which are intended to extract laughter from the audience, right? So if you look at it, some modern versions of mind, they combine these two, abstract and literal mind. So abstract mind, it evokes emotions, it makes the observer think. Whereas your literal mind, it tells a story. It is typically, scripted in the mind of a performer and written out. They are literal mind. Literal mind is actually written out prior performance, right? It is also part of performance to elicit some kind of an emotion. But this literal miming, it has to have at least one character and should have a plot with a beginning, middle, and end, right? Then you have a combined style. So what is combined style? Combined style, it includes both scripted and spontaneous, and it also has the spontaneous. It can also be scripted and spontaneous because it's like much like movie or play acting, right? Combined style includes comedy, romance, drama, mystery, right? Or any other. It can include any other cinematic or stage art. But remember, mime is a silent performance, right? From mime silent acting, we are now moving ahead towards voice acting. So this is my favorite aspect in acting, voice acting. So voice acting or voiceover is also known as voice acting, right? It is a whole part of it is very very tiresome because it involves a whole lot of practice, right? Um, so it is voice acting or voice acting field. It's a very amazing and exciting, fun world, right? And I've been a voice actor for 25 years now. Yeah. So when we think of voice acting, people don't realize, right? People don't realize how often they hear voice acting in their daily life, right? It is an art of doing voiceovers. It's about providing voice for use in a professional piece of work. This can range from gaming. For gaming, you can give voiceovers. You can give voice acting. Can be applied for videos. Voice acting can be applied for cartoons, for commercials, and much much more. Films, right? So a little bit of history of how voice acting came into it. The first voiceover was actually created by Walt Disney, for Mickey Mouse. If you Google, you will understand. It is in a film called Steamboat Willie, right? This was in 1928. The first voiceover was performed in 1900. It was a historical one, right? So in 1900s, right, in United States, that's when the weather report was being read. and at that time it started becoming very famous, and the person's name is called Fessenden, right? He was working in a radio station in Boston in 1906, and during Christmas season he used to record program of music, Bible verses, Christmas messages to all the people on radio. So that's how voiceover actually developed. So you need to understand that voice acting, it can also be applied to many genres, right? So voiceover artists, they have a number of aspects, right? Voiceovers can actually be broken down into different types. The first one is voiceover announcers. See, on television and radio broadcasts, award shows, talk shows, in continuity, promos, sporting events, when you hear that voice, those are voiceover announcers, and then voiceover narrators are there. These people give voiceovers for audiobooks, for documentaries, for explainer videos, mm, educational videos, business videos, medical videos, and they kind of act as audio tour guides, right? Then there are voice actors. Voice actors are, they give voice in animated movies, TV cartoons, radio dramas, right? Video games, puppet shows. They give dubbing in films. These are all voice actors. So then voiceover artists. Voiceover artists are, for example, your telephone prompts, IVR, right? When you dial something and when you kind of listen to that, that is also one kind of a voice actor. It's called as voiceover artist, right? And they can be heard welcoming people to that site, or they will be part of a road trip, or a road trip, or they can be voice of a GPS. These are all voiceover artists. And the last category is voice talent. Voice talent means they can be referred to everything, right? They are performers, they are voice performers. They can be hired for giving voiceovers, any kind of voice, right? They can do any of the aspects of voice, any of the aspects of voice. So those are voice talents. So basically, the voice acting, mime acting, and these are techniques. I think it's 301, and right, it's time, isn't it? So this is
Yes,
how
sir.
it goes. Yeah, this is how it goes, right? So within this short 1 hour span, and within this big, uh, you know, uh, big issue of pandemic, acting which has to be taught in person, acting which has to be taught with groups of people, where I will have to act, you will have to act, Clifford sir will act, all of us will act, this and then learn. We are having this acting workshop on online, right? So yes,
Yes,
that's what
sir.
I have, right, for you today, and thank you so much, guys. I don't know if you've got anything, but this is the best that I could do. This is the best that I could do online,
It
conducting this.
was a very insightful session, sir. No doubt. We got to learn a lot about the various acting techniques. Most of us probably did not know about all those. Students, you are open for questions, and if you have anything to ask, if you did not understand any concept, you can freely ask if you have any queries regarding the session. Go ahead.
And I will also be sharing my PPT. Okay, I'll
Yes,
send
sir.
it to Clifford,
Yeah.
and because you couldn't see the
You,
PPT.
yeah, students, you can use the chat window also. Filmmaking students, animation students, any queries regarding acting?
No,
Rudresh, first year's animation students, anything to ask, sir? Okay.
That is nice.
Any comments on the session, students? Anything to add?
Yeah,
Anything?
I need your feedback, guys. How was the
Yeah.
session? Did I teach properly?
Anyone would like to speak? Final years?
No, sir.
Yeah, actually, sir has played various roles in several short films, also web series and advertisements also. Wish we could have seen some of those. Yeah, definitely. I still remember watching some of them, some comic short videos, very interesting one. So, sir has a good backdrop of an acting career too.
No,
Not just not just on not just on radio shows. So, or giving voiceover for documentaries. Sir has been part of several short films and web series. I think maybe we'll keep it for next time. We could have watched, but I don't think we can because of the short span.
So do get the feedback from students,
Yeah,
Clifford. They're all shy to speak, I think, right?
seems like it.
All right.
All right. No queries,
No, sir.
sir. Do you
And
have that Lotus video?
Lotus video, I can only send it to you on WhatsApp. I don't know how to put it here. That's
Let
the
me.
problem.
Let me. Okay. Is this visible, sir?
Yeah, it's visible. Oh my God.
Sir, I. Okay. Is this, sir? Was
Yeah.
it audible?
ஒவ்வொரு நாள் விடியலையும் வரவேற்க தயாராகுங்கள். உங்கள் இல்லமும் இதயமும் இன்பம் குடியிருக்கும் கோவிலாகட்டும். லோட்டஸ் பால் சாம்பிராணி.
Yeah, I hope everyone was able to see that. That's one of our sir's short stint into acting. Yeah. So yeah, sir has been part of web series too, but unfortunately, I couldn't follow it. Yeah. So shall we close this session? All right, sir. It was a wonderful session. A good insight into acting, into both animation and filmmaking. I'm sure a student were benefited from this session. And thank you so much for the time you have given for our students, especially at challenging times like this during the pandemic. Thank you so much on behalf of Ainat Srinivas University, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Clifford. And thank you so much, students. Right? I'll see you all sometime later.
Yeah,
In
definitely we would
person.
like to have a session face to face, maybe once the campus is open.
Yeah. So they're all responding.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We'll close.
Okay.
All right. See you, everyone.